Alright everybody, I'm back. I got all this scraped off again so we can redo it. I had another kit, 1128 007 1050. That is for a MS440 or 044. Let's press this thing together. Currently I'm not in a great mood. I checked the cylinder. I know really the only difference between the 460 and the 440 is the crankcase and the cylinder. I know the only real big difference between the 440 and the 460 is the 460 has the same stroke but a bigger bore. The 440 has the same stroke but a 50 millimeter bore. The 460 is a 52 millimeter. So I've got a brand new 52 millimeter piston that I can't use, so I'm gonna have to order a piston for this saw because I was gonna do a brand new one. I don't really want to go with that old piston after doing all this. No, I can wait a little bit. Honestly, at this point though, I am debating about whether or not to do a Meteor or to do a OEM, because I think an OEM piston is about $100. It's like 98. All right, let's set this thing on there. Look at that, perfect fit for the gasket. Set that back there for a second. Especially with this pitting up here toward the front, I am going to do the Durco on both sides. I don't want to risk an air leak. I am scraping the inside so that I don't fill the crankcase up with Durco. It'll probably be a couple of weeks before I get back to this one, so I'm just going to do the seals and assemble it and then cover the top and have it ready to rock and roll whenever I finally get a piston in. I've got that other 460 behind me. That one's got a bad crank, and I think if I remember right on my parts order, I think I even elected to go with I want to say an NWP or a highway crank on that one. Not because I wanted to put an aftermarket crank in there, but I think when I priced it out, a 460 crank I think was about, I want to say 250 to 300. And doing a piston, bearings, seals, and all that, I couldn't justify it. That was why in that one video I did, I showed you how much it would cost from Wolf Creek to do this same build. Provided yours was actually, honest to goodness, a 440. Oh, sorry, a 460. I think all that happened was those top covers were actually 460. The rest of the saw, I'm convinced, is a 440. But no, back to what I was saying. That was why I showed you the price out, because especially if you're just cutting firewood or something, you could probably rebuild your old wood cutting saw doing exactly what I'm doing right now for a fraction of what it would cost to buy a new one. Like one of these saws right here, to get the 462 that is, I believe, a 70cc saw, you're looking at around 1,000 to 1,200. For a 500i, you're looking at 16 to 2,000. Or you can spend a couple $100 on parts and just rebuild your saw. All right, here we go. we go. So I have, for the most part, reassembled a crankcase. Before I call it a day, I will press the seals for you. But first, let me get these screws in and get it centered up for you. Alright, do you see how hard that is to turn right there? Let me show you how I'm going to fix it this time. A lot of times you can whack it with a hammer. That will work just fine. This time we're going to do something a little bit different. Alright, this is the way this puller is meant to be used, but I have pulled the bearing through the crankcase before. That's why I started doing the my spacer. It was because I pulled it through a couple of times and I didn't like it. There we go. We're going to snug that up real quick. I'm going to have to shine a little bit of light on this. We'll call that good for a second. Oh yeah. All right, look at how easy this is turning now. I'm using just my 2 fingertips. This is going to be a good running saw, I think, by the time I'm done, even though it is a 440 instead of a 460. I'm not going to knock that. I love a 440. I own at least 3 of them right now at this exact moment. All right, give me a couple minutes. All right, I got this little bugger right here clean. Basically used a Scotch-Brite pad and a little bit of elbow grease is all you could do there. All right, let's put a couple drops. Like I said, it's going to be setting for a little while. Not a long time. I'm not doing anything stupid, but it's going to be a week or so before I get a piston in. A, I got to wait till payday, and B, I have to wait for it to get here. There we go. Beautiful. All right. Now for my soda pop can. I'm filling up the lip of the seal with a good amount of grease. I don't like my seals to start dry. I like them to start with a little grease on them. I'm going to flare this open. There it went. I got the soda pop can all the way up to the bearing. And I slide that back down. Make sure I'm kind of straight. I'm not going to go to macking on it or anything yet. Right there, it stopped. Very little pressure. Perfect. That actually went flawlessly right there. All right. Take that with a pair of needle nose, and it slips right out. I can do that both ways. Sometimes I'll put the seal in, then I'll put the bushing back in. Sometimes I'll put the seal in, and then I'll put the bushing in, but this time I wanted to do it that way. All right, let's do the flywheel side real quick, and this one's going to be a little bit different, just given the configuration. I think this is a 1/2 inch socket, but we'll find out. Put just a little bit of grease around there. Like I said, I just don't want it to start dry. All right, there we go. Got both seals driven in. Now, probably tomorrow or the next day, if I have any time to do any tinkering, I'm probably going to tear that, hopefully, real 460 down. I've got a third one as well, but it's not in nearly as nice a shape. The one that needs to crank is in arguably the best shape of all of them. This one was supposedly running. It was running, but not well. Not at least up to my standard, and you saw what happened there. It had a massive air leak on the clutch side seal. So overall, we're doing pretty good here, even though it turned out to be a 440. So yeah, I think I like this. Maybe not quite what I would have wanted right off the bat, but it's still good. There we go. That way nothing can get down in there. It'll stay relatively clean for me. All right, there we go. So what you get to look forward to for tomorrow or the next day, an actual 460, I hope. Everything looks right. This thing's seen some use. Overall, I'm not going to gripe though. Doesn't look like it ingested a bunch. But the issue with this one is, let me get that started back real quick. You can hear it. It's got a pretty bad knock. So tomorrow I'll tear this thing down. I already have a crankshaft for it, and we'll go from there. Talk to you later. Take it easy. Bye.